it's done properly," Helius snapped. "You don't want me back here again." Nearby, but in a world removed from blue skies and fresh air, Gordio and Catus, the two soldiers assigned the task of finding and escorting Vitas, had already entered the labyrinth of prison cells below the stands of the amphitheater. While both were large, Catus was the larger of the two. In the flickering light of the torch they gave the appearance of brothers, each with dark, cropped hair, each with a wide face marked by battle scars. They were old for soldiers, sharing a common bond back to the days when they were both recruited from neighboring farms north of Rome, sharing survived battles in Britannia and Gaul, and all the years of monotony between them. As they traveled through the dark corridors by torchlight, the rumbling of the spectators above sounded like growls of distant thunder. Each soldier had drenched his face and shoulders with inexpensive perfume to mask the odor. Each knew from experience that no other smell on earth matched the stench of fear exuded by hundreds of prisoners. The torch Gordio carried was a beacon to all the prisoners, a flame serving notice that yet another among them would be plucked away for a horrible fate outside on the sun-baked sand. Halfway to the cell that held Vitas, a woman thrust her arms between iron bars in a useless effort to grasp at Gordio and Catus. "Kill me!" the woman sobbed at them, her hands flailing. "I beg you!" Neither of the soldiers broke stride. "Have mercy," she wailed at their broad backs. "Give me a sword or a knife. I'll do it myself." Behind them, the woman's pleading blended with the yells and groans and swearing of all the other men and women in the dozens of crowded, dank cells along their route. To Gordio and Catus, the men and women they were sent to retrieve for death were less than animals, troublesome debris, criminals deserving of their sentences. "My fate is tied to yours," Catus growled to Gordio. "I want you to say it again. We are in this together." "Yes, my friend," Gordio said, "we are in this together. How can you doubt me, after all these years we have shared?" The answer was unnecessary, for if ever there was a time for one to doubt the other, this was it. Nothing during their years as soldiers serving the Empire had prepared them for what they had resolved to do next. The unthinkable. Treason. The chosen seat of the man who had been born Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus placed him so close to the sand of the arena that on occasion blood would splatter his toga, spots of bright red soaking in and fading against the purple as they dried. On this morning, slaves shaded and fanned him as he anticipated the death of Gallus Sergius Vitas. A ferocious hangover diminished some of his anticipation, and despite the efforts of the slaves, the heat irritated him, but not enough to drive him away before the death of Vitas. He waited with a degree of impatience and swallowed constantly, trying to work moisture into his mouth. His thin blonde hair failed to cover the beads of sweat on his scalp. He'd once been handsome, but closing on his 30th birthday, his face was already swollen from years of decadent wine and food, showing a chin that had doubled and was on the verge of trebling. His eyes were the most telling of the horrors he had inflicted on others during the previous decade. They had a dulled mania and an emptiness that bordered on eerie. Few dared to look fully into those eyes, and most shivered under their attention, for this was the man now known and worshipped by his subjects as Nero, Claudius, Caesar, Augustus, Germanicus. Nero did not sit alone in the spectator's box. To his right sat the boy Sporus, whose knee he touched casually. To his left, Helius, who had returned from the animal pens. "How much longer until Vitas?" Nero said. "Soon," Helius said. A pause. Nero's head throbbed as he concentrated on listening. Helius then spoke quietly. "Have you told Sporus about your intentions?" Nero shifted, turning to face Helius fully. "You seem anxious for him to know." "The arrangements were your request," Helius said. "What you want done is what you want done, but the doctors say it must be done soon, that any day now he will reach puberty." Nero frowned. "It seems you take pleasure in the procedure. Why should it matter to you when Sporus learns of it?" "I'm only thinking of him," Helius said, looking down in deference. "Perhaps it would be best to give the boy time to prepare himself." Nero turned away, and, to disapproving murmurs from the crowd, kissed Sporus. He pulled back and stroked the boy's hair for a few moments, then leaned over and spoke again to Helius. "Prepare himself?" Nero asked. "Are you suggesting Sporus won't be delighted to honor me in such a manner? That there will be anything of more magnitude in his life than my love for him? He lives for you."